how can somebody develop a healthier relationship with health, exercise, diet, so that they can stick to it long term?
One of them is what I just said, which is to pay attention, and you have to do this consciously. Pay attention and list all of the effects and benefits that you're getting from this new journey. So you may not see any weight on the scale. Your clothes might not feel looser, but you feel more energy. Your mood is better. You're sleeping more soundly. Like, pay attention to those things. The other thing is start to learn how to celebrate those wins, because our minds, our brains are so geared to noticing the negative that positives don't really come naturally to us. Remember, your body is it evolved, if you will, just for Doug to, to not die. It didn't evolve for Doug to be happy and joyful. So make sure you take note of all the positive things, like, oh my God, I got out of the car so much faster. Or I'm playing with my kids more and not getting tired. Like, that'll help us a lot. But the root is this. And you're going to have to do this consciously at first. Am I treating myself like someone I care about? Am I exercising in a way that is caring for myself? Am I eating in a way that's caring for me? By the way, balance is baked into that, right? Because sometimes that means you skip the gym, right? If you're real tired. Sometimes that means you enjoy the pizza with your friends. But usually it means you eat healthy, and usually it means you're super consistent with your diet. So that's a conscious thing. You consciously have to, am I caring? Okay, I'm at the gym. I know what my workout is. How can I do this in a way that's like treating myself like somebody who deserves to be cared for? And that's what'll start to happen. And if you do that over time, it starts to become a relationship that is healthy and better. But it is a journey. There is no destination here. Our brains are wired for progress. They're not wired for arrival. And so if you got to look at this as a journey, you have to look at this as a, what direction am I moving? Not, did I get there yet? Type of deal. But yeah, it definitely starts with that self-care.
And I know that people really love following, Mind Pump, obviously for a variety of reasons, but I think one of the things that they really feel connected to is when you post like day in the life. And so for you, I know you post a lot of what you eat. Like, walk us through your day, like breakfast, starting with breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, etc. Like, what do you eat to keep yourself at a healthy body fat percentage and as healthy as possible throughout the day?
Well, I mean, what I eat's not going to matter to anybody watching right now, unless you're, my identical twin. But I eat. My diet is probably 95% whole natural foods. Starting there, that makes a big difference. I typically will eat with each meal. So let's say breakfast, lunch, and dinner, typically. Sometimes I'll have a fourth meal. Probably about 50 grams of protein worth of meat, eggs or meat. So chicken or beef, or eggs, sometimes fish. Okay. Now, I'll have vegetables, maybe in 2 of those meals, sometimes some fruit. Carbohydrates, that's where that's where there's a lot of variation. Okay. So I've identified for myself, and this seems to be true for a lot of people, that I feel most mentally sharp when my carbohydrates are very low. And that's because I'm running on ketones. Ketones are another source of energy that your body can run on besides glucose or glycogen. And so if I want more mental sharpness, then my diet is extremely low in carbohydrates, and I'm eating mostly proteins and fats and vegetables. If I want more athletic performance, strength, then I'm going to introduce those carbohydrates. And my carbohydrate sources typically are white rice or different types of potato. But that's pretty much it. So a day like right now I'm trying to eat in a way that promotes more mental sharpness. For breakfast, I may have, some meat, about 50 grams of protein worth of meat, maybe some steamed spinach or some vegetables. For lunch, it might be, again, chicken with like cucumber salad. And then dinner will be what my wife tends to prepare, which can be anything from lamb, beef, chicken, fish, maybe some starches at the end of the day, and some vegetables.
And so if you were like coaching a client on types of foods to eat, I know you talked about limiting processed foods, eating more whole foods. Like I'm sure you got a lot of questions over the years, like Sal, like what should I have for breakfast? Like what do I eat? I mean, oh, I don't like eggs or whatever. What would you typically tell somebody as a framework for breakfast if they came to you?
So again, I'm gonna sound like a broken record. Whole natural foods. Uh, Start with a good protein amount. For women, that's probably around 30 grams of protein. For men, that's going to be around 50 grams of protein. I mean, berries are really good because they're high in fiber. And starting your day off with protein and fiber is a great way to have your insulin levels be relatively stable throughout the day, regardless of what you eat throughout the day. So starting with protein really makes a big difference with just how you feel later on throughout the day, which can affect things like mood and cravings and stuff like that. So, I mean, it could be anything. It could be chicken, it could be beef, it could be eggs. If you can have dairy, there's great dairy sources of protein like cottage cheese. There's Greek yogurt. Again, I like berries. So that's a great way. But I think the key here is start with a high protein source, whole natural protein source, and that has positive effects throughout the entire day.
And then that would obviously continue throughout the day. I mean, I know it's like it's the simplicity of it works. Like if for lunch and dinner, it's the same thing, right? Like whole foods, healthy carbs, high protein, etc.
Yeah, there is no secret food if that's what people are looking for. There is no, eat an avocado with, goji berry. There's no secret food in what I'm saying. But by the way, protein shakes don't have the same satiety effect as whole natural foods. So, if you're trying to you want to, because protein is very satiety producing, which is great for fat loss. A high protein diet tends to make people eat less. It also has a high thermic effect. So, a 2,000 calorie diet with high protein versus a 2,000 calorie diet with less protein, the high protein diet will actually burn more calories because of what's required of the body to utilize that protein. But a shake has far less of the satiety effect. Okay, so if you have a shake in the morning, you don't expect to have the same appetite controlling effects as eating the same amount of protein from a whole natural source.
I know we've hit home a lot of these points over and over again. I think it's important because I know you guys talk about a lot of the same stuff, like just staying consistent, simple things, focus on the big rocks, no magic solutions. And yet a lot of people still want to jump to these quick fixes and use biohacking as a way to try to get stronger and lose fat, etc. Like, why do you think that, given the fact that all of this information has been said repeatedly over the years, people still don't think that's good enough for them with their health and fitness goals?
I mean, come on, man. The health and fitness industry is just plagued with terrible information. So it's confusing. Over here, you hear it's vegan. Over here, you hear it's paleo or carnivore. This person says this workout is the most effective. So that's a big part of it. Is it's just confusing. The other big part of it is that there's some counterintuitive aspects of it. If I say to you, exercising appropriately means you feel more energy at the end of your workout. It shouldn't make you feel like you beat up. Well, that's counterintuitive. I feel like if I beat the crap out of myself, it's a much more effective, workout. And plus, there's the other side of it, which you alluded to, which is people go into it hating themselves. Oh my God, I'm gross. Oh my God, I got to get this fat off my body. And so they adopt methods that are not effective. They're more like punishment. It's cathartic at first, but then of course later you rebel because who wants to hate themselves? And then you come out of it. But the fitness industry in general, I mean, this is why we started our podcast. The whole motivation behind Mind Pump was to cut through the noise. It was to influence the fitness industry and start setting the narrative so that people would be getting the right information. It's also why we've recently now are investing time and money into training trainers and coaches. So we influence the consumers with the podcast, and we've done a decent job of that. We've definitely gotten some messages to come out there. It's difficult. It's a big ship, but now we're trying to work it from the inside. Can we train coaches and trainers through our courses and certifications so that because they're the ones that make the biggest impact. I mean, you know this, like, my podcast could reach X amount of people, but I'm not going to make an impact like you would with your client. It's the trainers that are really the lifeblood of the industry, and they're the ones that are really doing all the good work. And so now we're really trying to help them. And so yeah, it's difficult. There's so much bad information out there. It's not even funny.
Yeah, like the biggest roadblock I have with my clients, I don't know if you can relate to this. Like when I first became a trainer, I became a trainer back in 2011, maybe 2012, somewhere around there, maybe 2010. I forget the exact year, but nonetheless, the biggest roadblock was convincing my clients on the power of exercise and why they should make better food choices. And now, over the last probably 3 years, it's been trying to convince them not to go on like a 5-day fast, or convince them not to walk around with their phone in a grocery store and scan like products for ingredients. It's like, it's been just trying to dispel a lot of these myths. And it's just been way more, I think, challenging because of social media and because there's so many loud voices out there. And I just think that in itself has been like a huge challenge that we face in the fitness industry.
It's a big challenge, but it's moving in the right direction. It's much more positive. I see more women strength training now than ever. That was a big one. That was a big roadblock. People are more wise to some of the lies that come out. But there's still that, the allure of like you mentioned, fasting, like, oh, fasting for fat loss. Like, fasting is a spiritual practice. That's the value of fasting. There's no fat loss. The fat loss effects of fasting are because you eat less calories. And by the way, that's a terrible way to do it, by not eating. We used to call that starving yourself back in the day. So, but it's better now than it was. It's definitely better than when I first became a trainer. When I first became a trainer 27 years ago, 28 years ago, people are way more informed today than ever. Way more informed. So I see it being positive, especially with the introduction now of GLP-1s. Of course, there's going to be there's already a lot of misinformation around them. A lot of people be using them in ways that are not so great. But I do think that if trainers do a good job of getting ahead of the narrative, that we finally have this tool that we can utilize in combination with appropriate, smart exercise and diet and behavior modification, where we have a winning chance. We actually have, for the first time ever, a chance to reverse this trend of chronic illness and obesity.
We'll get you back to this episode in just 1 second, but first I want to give a quick shout out to this episode's sponsor, Fresh Pressed Olive Oil Club. Like many of us, I'm eating healthier, and that's why I love good olive oil. And by good, I mean fresh. Olive oil packs the most flavor and healthiest nutrients when it's fresh from the farm. And that's the problem with supermarket olive oils. They're just not that fresh. They can sit on the shelf for many months and grow stale. That's why I get my olive oil direct from small, award-winning farms, thanks to my buddy, TJ Robinson, who's also known as the Olive Oil Hunter, who you may have heard recently on the podcast. When I tasted TJ's farm fresh oils, I fell in love with their vibrant, grassy flavors. They're incredibly delicious on things like salad, veggies, pasta, meat, fish, you name it. As an introduction to his Fresh Press Olive Oil Club, TJ is willing to send you a full-size, $39 bottle of one of the world's finest olive oils, fresh from the new harvest, for just $1 to help him cover shipping. And there's no commitment to buy anything now or ever. Get your free $39 bottle for just $1 shipping and taste the difference freshness makes. Go to getfreshdoug.com. That's getfreshdoug.com for a free bottle and just pay $1 for shipping. That's getfreshdoug.com. Now back to the show.